emotional intelligence today in the context of leadership. And we decided to make it in the context of leadership because there is a direct relationship between our success as leaders and the success of the companies in the future, and how well we are mastering our emotions and how well we actually make them work for us. And I'm going to change the slide. Can you please let me know if the slide is changing correctly? Great. So today we're going to learn a few things, but they are quite foundational and quite important. First of all, we will learn that emotions are just data. There's no good or bad, right or wrong about them. They're just pure information. And then how we can leverage this information to actually make it work for us and not against us. And to work for us in a way that is going to support us to reach our goals. But also we'll learn that AI improvements do not happen overnight and they're not magical, right? They are an investment of time and energy. And even if it's just a little bit every day, it requires a little bit of work from your side to be intentional and consistent. Practice emotional intelligence and you will slowly build a muscle. Throughout the session, we will also give you a little bit of one tool here and there to actually support your practice, but also we're going to add AI into the mix so we can actually give you a little bit of a, I would call it superpower, but a companionship for whatever you might need another pair of eyes. So we're going to start with a foundational about, we're talking a little bit about emotions. We're jumping into extending your powers with the powers of AI. We're going to talk about tools, and throughout the session, my invitation for you is do not wait until the end of the session to ask questions, share your opinion, clarify your doubts. If I say something and that is kind of inspiring you to ask a question or you would like to share something, feel free to raise your hand and just interrupt the whole session. It's perfectly okay, and I actually invite you to do that, right? So let's jump a little bit into the session. My name is Lu. I am a coach and mentor, but my background is in IT in tech. I have been there around 20 years, and I have started as a software engineer. Actually, I worked as a freelance programmer for many years, and then I created my own small boutique consultancy in tech. And I tested a little bit what entrepreneurship is. I moved to Barcelona and I managed teams, project and product teams, first in consultancy for various agencies in the Spanish government. And then I moved to work for a US-based company that was very product-oriented. And my last stint was in automotive, where I worked for Porsche, which is a wonderful brand building wonderful cars that actually sell emotions, because Porsche is a very, very emotional brand. Now I am actually a coach and a mentor, and I usually like to tell my clients that I coach the person behind the leader, and when necessary, I mentor the professional behind the leader. And that's everything you will hear about me today. And now it's all about you. And I would really like for you to think about one person that you really didn't like working with him or her, right? We all have that in our extensive experience. Maybe I don't encourage you to name names, but I do encourage you to do you remember that person? Maybe that person was toxic. You really don't want to go to work just because they were there, or you really didn't want to enter the room because they were there. But do you remember, and do you want to share, either talk or within the chat, what made you think they're absolutely terrible to work with? What did you label them? What did you say there? I can also share, but I want you to share first if you have somebody in your mind. Nobody? Nobody wants to break the ice? No? But then maybe for self-reflection, because you're shy today, was it hard skills or soft skills? Was it about how well they were doing their job from maybe technical perspective, or maybe it was about how they were? Soft?
It's the second point. How they
Soft
were
skill.
matters a lot than what they do.
Exactly. Do you remember anybody being fired because they were a bad technical person? Or do you remember people being fired, or a colleague being fired, or maybe reprimanded, or maybe not promoted, just because the soft skills probably weren't quite there? And I'm going to leave you with that reflection, because emotional intelligence and how well we play and we work with emotions usually is labeled as soft skill, rarely tested, but usually has consequences, right? So I do encourage you to come and have a conversation with me today. And I wonder what brought you here. Why emotional intelligence? And what exactly is emotional intelligence for you? Not the standard definition, but what is it for you when you hear it? What would you say it is?
It's something related to the culture, and I would say the the culture of the environment. This is how you learn things actually. When you go to, for example, if you work in India, you have a different mindset and you have a different culture. People tend to work more and so on. But if you come towards European, and it's a different culture, and if you look after US, it's a
Yeah.
different culture. It's all based on the performance zone. So it's completely culture. You need to respect that, but understanding the culture is one of the important aspects, I believe.
Yes. And Sarvesh says yes. It's true. Emotional intelligence is very, very culture influenced. Especially now when we're working cross culture, it's very important to understand how does other cultures handle emotions, what is allowed and what is not allowed in cultures, what can you say and how you should say it in a way that we can still communicate in a very respectful way. For example, if you would ask people in my context what is emotional intelligence for them, they would always kind of jump directly and say, oh, you have to control your emotions, like you have to suppress your emotions. Sometimes you hear, no emotions at work, please. Exactly. It is how we manage our emotions. What exactly do we do with them? Do we like deny their existence and we behave like robots? Do we want to do that as a leaders? Do we want to be a robot, or we want to be human, right? So there is a debate around emotional intelligence of what is allowed and what is not. But for today's conversation, the way it is understood right now is the way emotional intelligence is your ability to first perceive the emotion. When you feel like a tightness in your chest, or maybe in your jaw, or maybe some tension in the back, what do you feel? Where do you feel it? There's an emotion showing up in your body, right? But then also, what is it tightness in the chest that you're feeling? What is happening? What is it trying to say? What triggered it? This is your capacity to understand it. Emotions are data, there's information. Do you know how to read that information? And then the last part is the biggest part, right? Is now that I have it, what do I do with it? Does it work for me or against me? It is important to work at those emotions and manage these emotions in ourselves. Because if we can do that, then we can do that with others too. And there will be a ripple effect. People will notice, oh, Lou has different emotional reactions. She's calmer, maybe. She's reacting better under stress. And if you do that as a leader, people will start to do the same, and you will be able to also support them. Today's focus, though, because emotional intelligence is really complex, we're going to work on us. We're going to change us. And in the future, when we'll be able to like have another conversation, probably in a future webinar, we can understand how to do that for others, mainly through using empathy. So this is what we're going to discuss today. There will be 3 parts of the session where we will understand how to let the emotion happen, how to read the message of the emotion, and then how to actually use the emotion in a way that is supporting our ambition and supporting our goals, making us better leaders. Until here, any kind of question, any kind of doubt, anything else that you would like to share before we jump into talking a little bit more about culture and emotions? Yes? No? Okay. So I want to share with you a little bit about fun facts because Vinay actually told something about how emotions are culturally dependent, and they depend a lot on our context. My question for you is, do you think all over the world, across the cultures, the countries, the languages, do we feel the same emotions? You feel free to react with an emoji like this or this. Yes, all emotions. No, we don't feel there are different. Yeah, pretty. What does this mean? Usha. Yes, we feel all the emotions. Anybody who wants to say, no, we don't feel the same emotions. We have different emotions.
Yeah, I think the emotions and everything would differ from country to country, race to race. I mean, it's different. I would give you an example. So, in my previous experience, I used to ask people about the status. I wouldn't be. I mean, I would only accept that this is completed when I used to follow up on the deadlines and everything. But if you see, that is a wrong thing to check in different countries. I mean, if you gave something to get it done, if you follow up on that, it's not a good sign. I mean, they feel offended. So this is one of the thing I learned. I mean, there are many other things, but yeah, this is one of the examples.
Mm. Also, there's a difference in behaviors, right? There are behaviors that are accepted and behaviors that are unaccepted. Things that you can say and things that you can say, but in a certain way. Also, emotions that are acceptable at work, emotions that are not welcome at work, right? But in reality, they have made some studies a few years, many years back, and they kind of categorize emotions in big categories, 5, 7. People actually do not have a clear understanding how many emotions are there anyway. But what we do know is that the main emotions, like we feel anger, we feel sadness, we feel joy, we feel surprise, they are pretty much the same in like high level for all kinds. Exactly, pretty, exactly. But they are very dependent on language and culture. In some languages, in some cultures, they have very complex names. They have very deep meanings. They might be allowed or not. For example, in my culture, I, as a woman, it is not very well seen if I express anger, if I shout, if I am extremely explosive. They would probably reprimand me as a child, saying, Lou, it is not okay to show anger. It is not okay to be, punch people and punch the walls. So I would learn in my culture to just tone it down and probably in time actually replace anger with something softer, maybe frustration, or maybe deny it completely and say, oh, I'm not angry. But in reality, I probably am, but I'm not allowed to express it. And the beauty of emotions is we have so many languages and so many nuances to our language that can express a complex feeling with one simple word. And one of my favorite is the Japanese words around emotions because it's very complicated, but they manage to use one word to express the despair that you feel when you look in the mirror and you got a bare haircut. So you go to the hairstylist and then they show you the mirror, and when you're disappointed, they have a name for that despair. They have a name for the feeling that you feel when you buy a lot of books, but you know you're not going to be able to read them, and they just pile up. And I do know that feeling of buying too many books. So language then takes these emotions and they give names to their intensities. They give names to complexity. And language is absolutely beautiful. I absolutely love this idea of German, like the emotion that you feel when you're trying to improve something, but in reality, you see that you made it worse. There are names for emotions. And language and culture determines how we express them and whether we are allowed to express. And now I would really like to learn from you. Is there any kind of interesting, beautiful emotion that has an interesting, beautiful name in India, because you are a mix of beautiful cultures and you would like to share with me so I can also learn? Maybe around sadness, maybe around love, maybe around loss, when you lose something or someone that matters to you. Names for emotions. Or maybe you can describe to me your favorite emotion in the whole world. Maybe the emotion that you feel when you see for the first time your firstborn child. Does it have a name? Yes?
Yeah, hi Lou.
Hi.
I cannot name the emotion, but still, some of the times what I see in the regular meetings, there will be some discussion going on, and we try to stop the person like taking forward whichever what he is expressing. That means we are trying to influence him and making to the correct way. So in that point of time, I feel like. We are controlling our emotions, like I cannot express in a larger group in the team, because I need to first actively listen to the team and judge it, and then provide my response in a soft emotion. So that's what I feel most of the times at the work culture, at the work.
Thank you. And it's a very valid point. Sometimes we feel like, no, we are here in the conversation in the meeting just to talk about facts and take decisions. And we just leave our emotions at the door, or maybe emotions come later when they're already like quite big. For example, if I don't like what I hear and I'm becoming angry or frustrated. But they're also like a very good practice in teams to start a meeting with a short emotional check-in, like, how are you today? Because if I, for example, I haven't slept last night and I'm the leader and maybe my child woke me up and I am extremely grumpy, my emotional state and how I come into the meeting and the emotion that I carry might influence how I show up.
Right,
And
right,
in a lot of senses, like actually having an emotional check-in at the beginning and say, how do you come? How are you arriving today? I'm tired. I'm coming from another meeting. I'm not here today because my child is sick, has fever, or my mom is sick. I am coming with my emotions, and my emotions will influence the meeting, whether I like it or not, whether I want it or not. Question is,
right.
can you separate that? Can you realize that there's a difference between who you are now with emotions and who you would like to be?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else wants to share something before we jump into a different part of our session? No problem. You will have opportunities later. So first, the slide, I promised you we'll learn about emotions, that emotions are data. And now I'm here to kind of give you a little bit more context. Emotions are just the reactions that we have in our body when something happens to us. There is always a trigger that is going to generate some sort of emotional reaction in our body, right? But in reality, whether an emotion is good or bad is just how we interpret it, right? It's just our story that we make out of it, right? So my invitation for you today is actually take a look at the emotions like we are looking at the dashboard of our car. Coming from automotive, and this is an example I absolutely love. So imagine you're driving on the road and suddenly on the dashboard of your car, there's a light that is blinking, right? Maybe there's a light with a battery charger, or there's a light around temperature, or maybe there's a light around, I don't know, a seatbelt, right? That is an emotion, is an information. Something changed in your environment, and I want you to pay attention. Do we get mad at the indicator on our dashboard? How do we decide the indicator is something good or bad? If there is a light around how much battery I have or how much fuel I have in the car, my reaction depends on how far away I am from a charging station. If I am very far away, I will probably panic. If I am not far away, I'll probably be a little bit more relaxed. So emotions are happening in the same way. What is the purpose of the emotion? Just tell me something is happening around me and I might want to pay attention. What makes it good or bad? Me, the way I judge it. Does it work for me or against me? Is there something that is going to affect my job, my life, my ego? Is there any danger? And then I'm starting to create a story around it. And then I label it good, bad, positive, negative. But intrinsically, it is not. And my question for you is when a light shows up on the dashboard of your car, is it smart for you to ignore it?
No,
Completely up to you. Not
no,
smart.
no. Okay.
You might want to know that something happened. And then whatever you do with that information, then is up to you. But if something happens, you might want to know. But then figure it out. The interpretation is going to make us feel bad or good. And I want to imagine if for whomever has children, you Nikki house or with the rest of you, I don't know. So imagine you're in the playground and it's raining and there's a lot of water on the floor, and your child is there happily jumping in the water and splashing, playing with mud, absolutely happy and laughing. And then you see a mother and the father, and the mother is really worried and the father is really like joyful. Why? Nikki, did it happen to you? It's like, why? It's the same action, it's the same fact. And sometimes we react, the same people watching the fact are reacting in very different ways because the story is very different. Maybe the mother is worried because, oh my goodness, wet clothes, she's going to get sick. What am I going to do? How am I going to get home? And the father is, oh my goodness, she's having the time of her life. Look at her. Did it happen to you to be facing the same action, the same thing, and then see, oh, why are everybody reacting different? Yes. Yeah. Do you mind sharing a story if you have one? And if it comes to your mind, the story like, oh, look, this is what happened to me, and this is exactly how I reacted. No?
Yeah, earlier it used to happen many times.
Yeah, it's
Like,
pretty.
yeah, earlier it used to happen many times when I asked to kids to get up early and get dressed for school so that they reach in time. But his father is okay with it. Okay, 5-10 minutes we will manage. They can get into the school, etc. So this was the time which I used to struggle. Why they are so means very cool about this thing. Okay, it will go. And I sometimes get into like anxiety. Why they are not getting out of time.
Exactly.
Somehow.
we all interpret time and the lack of
Yes.
time differently. Somebody's chill and somebody's like, not chill. Also here in Spain, for example, if you're arriving late to a meeting, everybody's just fine, you know. But if you have like a German colleague, that German colleague might say, it is very, very subjective and very personal. Okay. So for all of us who say, oh, I still have some work to do around emotional intelligence, I need to build up the muscle, but what can I actually do now with my teams to enhance my superpowers, right? It's like while I'm going to the gym and I'm going to flex this muscle, identifying emotions and managing my own emotions, is there any way that AI can actually give me a hand? And I would like to show you how I use AI. If you do use AI and work with emotions with your teams or any kind of work with your teams that is useful, please share. I'm just sharing my perspective on how I use it. And what I did actually was, because coaching sessions and mentoring sessions are confidential, I actually used a conversation between me and my partner. His name is Dan, and we use the transcript tool pretty much like we have right now that is giving you a transcript, and then I'm running it through an AI that is called Claude. I like Claude because I find this tool a little bit more human, and I really like the touch of Claude. So whatever I do, when I need to understand a little bit the nuances of a conversation, I go to Claude and I say, hey, I would like you to make some analysis for me. And the first thing that Claude usually comes back and says, yes, I can analyze communication for you. I can do sentiment analysis, which is like, wow, cool, emotions. I can tell you about misunderstandings, because in many times we actually say the same things, but we don't understand each other. And we're like, we don't even realize that we do not understand each other. So Claude says that it's possible to do that. And I always start with the same important question for me, which is, what emotions were in the room? They are just a tool, but the capacity of the AI to extract emotions is rather good, because in this conversation between me and my partner Dan, these emotions were actually in the room. I was talking about my past in management. I was worried that I made mistakes. I learned by making mistakes. And sometimes I think about that. So indeed, I was having guilt and regret, right? I wouldn't say I was having anxiety. That is an overreaction from Claude, because anxiety, that is very much a serious word. But I did feel sad. I did feel frustration. These are emotions. Claude picked up emotions. These are real words. And he picked up peace at the end, because talking about it calmed me down. And also, Claude noted that there was playful affection, because me and Dan, we are partners in life. So picked up the fact that there was an affection between me and him, right? And Dan, on the other side, he is a very patient person. This is how he managed to stay in a relationship with me for 20 years. He's patient, he's compassionate, he listens. So Claude picked up all this. He's supportive. There was joy in Dan's expression. There was affection. There was playfulness. There was curiosity on his side. So Claude is picking up emotions. This was a one-on-one conversation, but if you ever want to work with a co-pilot for meetings, the co-pilot, the AI will be able to pick up emotions. So first question that I start a conversation with AI is, can you make me a list of emotions? And then I would ask, how would you describe the participants in the meeting? I want to know a little bit more about them, right? So in this case, the Claude jumped in to say, oh, Louis is self-reflective, Louis is analytical. It's true. I've been a project and product manager. I am highly analytical. I am perfectionist. Unfortunately, yes. But also deeply caring. Not Dan. Dan is patient. Dan is supportive. Is optimistic because whenever I feel like everything is really bad in my life, he says like, well, it's not that bad. He's the optimist in the relationship. And he knows not to give advice, but ask questions. But then Claude took it a little bit further and described our dynamic, how me and him interact. And he says, I bring intensity, Dan brings lightness. I complicate, he simplifies. I criticize myself, Dan is compassionate. So Claude could pick up on that too. And lastly, I usually check what the AI's thinking process is because I want to make sure whether the AI actually understood what I'm asking. And how will I know if the AI hallucinates? And usually AI now is asked to show you the thinking process. And in this case, for example, when I ask Claude, can you describe each participant in one word only? You can see Claude saying, oh, if I use reflective, I might miss out on the fact that she was intense. If I say self-critical, it might be too negative. If I say introspective, it's good, but it might be too clinical. So you can see Claude's thinking process and say, I think I will choose thoughtful for Lou. And the same is doing for Dan, just asking, searching for different options. And in the end says, okay, I'm going to pick gentle for Dan. So yes, use the tool, ask questions. Ask, for example, for subtleties in the conversation. Do you think there were things that were not said between the two of them? But then also check the thought process. Is Claude going to hallucinate? So this is one of the how I use actually AI to understand a little bit the people around me. And then the more I am interested, the more questions I can ask. I can ask about communication style, leadership style, whether somebody was aggressive in the room, whether somebody was talking too much. Because if we want to have like a brainstorming session where everybody is allowed to bring ideas, the fact that one person dominates the room might not be useful for our creative process. Maybe there is somebody who's constantly interrupting somebody else and doesn't let them finish their sentence. I want to know these kind of things because I want to be able to create a team where everybody's voice maybe can be heard when we're trying to create something new. And sometimes I ask, could I have done something better? Could I have been better? Could I show up as a better leader? Could I have shown up as a better partner? And then take everything with a pinch of salt in reality, because it's not a human that I'm interacting with, but maybe it can give me some maybe perspectives that I haven't thought about. So if you are to have a conversation, for example, with AI, what questions do you think might be useful for you to ask? Is there anything that you would say, oh, AI and emotional intelligence, so interesting. I think I would really, really, really be curious about one thing. What would you be curious about? Nothing? Anyone? It's okay. So, ending this chapter on AI is my encouragement to you to use it. Play with it. They say AI is not going to take our jobs, but maybe a human using AIs might. So it is safe to play. Now, all the tools that we have at work around email, communication, project management, they will have a component of AI because all major companies are now in a race to add AI to the existing tools. They might not be very good yet, but I do think they will be quite good in the future. So do you use them? Do you know them? Have you noticed that Gemini is here to support you if you are on a Google suite? Can actually improve your presentations to be better, can improve your emails. You can talk to the AI, say, can you make this email a little bit more warm, more compassionate? Can you analyze our Slack conversations to extract data? Can we use co-pilots for our meetings and maybe they take notes so we can be fully present? But then I can go back to the co-pilot and ask, hey, did you notice something different in the meeting? Right? Is there anything that I am not seeing? Can you be my second pair of eyes? So AI is actually a very good companion to help you detect emotions if you think that you might miss out on some subtle things happening in the conversations for you. Highly encouraging you to do that. And since we are wrapping up the second part of our webinar about AI extending the human capabilities, if you have questions or doubts and you would like to ask, now is a really good moment to ask about AI. Or is it a topic that is too new or too weird for us right now?
So I think using AI and understanding at what level are we with emotional intelligence and what needs to be improved over time, I think that helps. Yeah, because we will definitely be not aware of our actions. So we need to learn from it, and we need to understand what exactly we did wrong or
Yes,
something like that. So in
yes,
that sense, I think we can improve. But recording and everything, it's a good thing. But I think some of the countries or companies may not allow it. So
yes,
in that situation, maybe you can use your mobile or external device to check and improve on it. Yeah, that's a good. Actually, this is a good thought. I never thought of it because we generally take interviews. We check technical skills, but most of the times we check cultural fit. That is
true,
very important
true,
for us. And
true.
I think this suggestion I can add. Probably there are many things which are which are very important when you um, evaluate a candidate or in that sense. And also it's very important in the meetings to keep your tone and to keep your you know
Yes,
um, so I think, yeah, it's a very important point.
yes. And to build up on your idea, actually HR teams, at least in tech, I don't know any in any other industries, but it's quite common right now to have a co-pilot in the Zoom meeting, for example, where recruiters are asking questions, and then this transcript to be available, and then you can query this transcript to ask for more, because there's just so much you can actually pick up while you are live interviewing a person, but you might want to revisit the conversation a little bit later, right? And say, hey, AI, can you give me a little bit more information that I might have missed up? So this is actually happening, and it's been happening for a few months now. Whether it's going to be the norm moving forward, I don't know. But enhanced recruiting is already there. Yes. And why not pick on soft skills, pick up on soft skills, because this is something that is harder to interview sometimes. So thank you. Great point. I forgot about HR. Okay. So moving forward, I do want to not forget about improving ourselves as people, because no AI is going to do our job for us. No AI is going to be the leader that we want to be, and can actually support us like a crutch while we are trying to, let's say, strengthen our muscles, but also it is not a replacement for good leadership. So first thing and first step in actually getting better at this AI thing is to actually allow the emotion to happen. Thank you, Preeti. Allow the emotion to happen, allow the emotion to express, and pay attention to it. Identify it. And how do we do that? I do want you to play with me here. And there is no right or wrong way to play this game. It's going to take 60 seconds. If you have pen and paper, great. If you have a mobile phone around you so you can take a notes, great. You can use your fingers, because all I'm asking you is to count how many emotions can you name in 60 seconds. Ready? I already see Usha moving like, oh, you have pen and paper or something. No? Fingers, great. So I'm having a timer. I'm going to put a timer. There is no winner or loser here, because as long as you can name more than 3, you're already amazing. And if you get to 5 and you get beyond 5, you are actually an overachiever, because a lot of people cannot name 3 emotions. So, timer, 60 seconds. Start. Use whatever language you want. Doesn't really matter. You're doing great. 30 seconds, we're halfway. Two, 1, and 0. How many do you have? Show of hands, or put in the chat, or say something. How many? 6? Nikki, 6? You overachiever. 10%. Anybody else? Usha, 7. Really great. Agony. Wow, pretty. 4. Good, good. This is actually highly important, because in my coaching sessions, there are people who are feeling stuck or are having a really, really serious conversation about something that happened to them. And emotions are always present in coaching sessions. And in many, many, many situations, I'm asking, how do you feel? What is it that is happening to you right now? And the answer that I get back is, I don't know. Thank you. Stress, frustration, happy. Great. And another situation is, I have no idea how I feel. But more importantly, I don't even want to know. Oh, anxiety. I'm sorry to hear about that. So first step into building this muscle is to actually say, do I know what's happening to me beyond I feel good or bad? Do I know where it is? So congratulations to you for naming more than 3 emotions, for playing the game with me. Curious too. Curiosity is an emotion. Actually, it's an emotion that is a very good emotion to fight fear. Curiosity is a very good balancing for fear. So, if you are capable to understanding and feeling the emotion and giving it a name, you are already doing a great, great work on improving your emotional intelligence. And it's really important, because these emotions, they leave a fingerprint in your body. The tightness in your chest, sweaty hands, racing heart. Is it stress? Is it fear? Or is it excitement? Oh, I can't wait for the presentation. What is it? Name it. But also at the same time, they have intensities. Is it a high intensity or low intensity? Because if you look at the right side, and I'm using Pixar because it's absolutely my favorite movie about emotions, is it the same thing if I feel, for example, shy, which is a low intensity fear, compared to if I feel panicked or terrified, petrified. There is a sliding scale that is all labeled as fear these days, but it's not the same thing. Because if I have to have a presentation in front of 1,000 people, I cannot work if I am operating in the petrified area, if I am absolutely having a panic attack. But I'm absolutely in my genius zone if I am slightly uncertain. And the same with anger. That's the same thing if I say I'm a little annoyed, which is a little bit here, than if I say I'm actually explosive and I am furious. Because if I'm explosive, I might hurt somebody. But if I dial it down a little bit, then I can operate from a calmer mind and I'm saying, I'm actually annoyed or irritated, or I'm outraged because I saw an injustice. And if I saw an injustice, I am using this anger to fix the injustice or to go out and protest against wars. So is the emotion high, low, high intensity, low intensity? Is good for me to stay in that emotion, or should I dial it down a little bit? Because we have the capacity to dial down or up the emotions so that they work for us. Can I always be in a highly happy state? Can I always be ecstatic? Probably not. Probably I shouldn't be ecstatic. Dial down, yes. So why words matter? Because there's no such thing. I mean, it's really different to go to a friend of mine and I'm saying I'm feeling fear. And it's different if I say I am panicked than I am lost. It's different if I say I am, I don't know, let's say disturbed, I'm a little down, then I am depressed. My friends will react differently and my teams will react differently depending on the word that I use. So it is our duty to be good communicators for us and for the others. Try to learn the wider range of emotions. In time, doesn't have to be now. Now I know 3, tomorrow I know 4. And there are tools for that. There are tools to help you go to the gym and flex this number one muscle of perceiving the emotion. Just pay attention. There's something on the dashboard of my car. Look at it. It's in the body. Somewhere in the body, I feel something. Where? How is it? Is it high intensity? Is it low intensity? Do I have a word for it? And if I don't have a word, can I find one? And I am at the end of this webinar. I do have a list that I want to share with you by email with toolkit of tools, so you can actually go deeper on this journey of emotional intelligence. In coaching, for example, we use exactly this thing to the right, which is a wheel of emotions. And this wheel is giving both me and my coachee language. If you look at this wheel of emotions, what would describe where you feel right now? There are mobile applications, there are wearable applications, there are lists of emotions that you can always go to. And this is how you slowly build the vocabulary. And then you let the emotion go. Another tool, right? Team check-in with your team at the beginning of the meeting. How do you feel? Use the wheel, and then you give them names. We all have reflection practices. How did I feel today at the end of the day? I sit there and say, how was my day? What did I feel? How was my week? Some people journal, some people retrospect. Doesn't really matter. Stop and pause a little bit. Or I will have a meeting next week. Do you know, can you prepare for that meeting to trigger you in some way? And if you slowly build a muscle of thinking about how you feel and naming it, you will learn in time what kind of events trigger you the most. Whenever I go into the building and I am meeting this person, I am having an emotional reaction, and this is how I feel. And this is extremely helpful for you, so you can actually manage it better in the future. And this is first step at the gym. And I'm really curious, for this first step, what tricks do you already use? Because I know you already have your tricks. What is it that you do? What works well for you?
Yeah, so when I have any situations which are heated up or something, I play with my kid. So, just for some time, it calms me down, and then I don't focus on that topic anymore. I just concentrate on being there. But yeah, it's really very important to know the ways we can build up this muscle, and as you mentioned, the tools and other ways which could improve, the emotional intelligence and understand the situation, because this is very important. At least in this age, in the previous, I think it did not matter much, this emotional
Yes.
intelligence. We work together and it did not matter much. But now, in the current society, I think this is very important to understand everyone's perspective and respect each other's views.
Yes. And also accept the fact that when we come to work, we come as people, right? I cannot leave my emotions in the elevator. I come with them and they influence me. And just say, yes, I know you're there. I noticed you. And then I let you go. That is like that. We are not robots. We cannot expect others to be robots. We are very complete, round shaped, 360 degrees human beings. As a leaders too. We are
Yeah.
people.
And I've been in a situation where I used to ignore this pretty much. I mean, when I get angry, I get angry. That's what I used to think and move on. I never thought of why did I get angry, or how can I make this better, and how could I have handled it differently.
Yes.
Because
Also,
we are all running out of time, and you won't get much time to reflect, and then you
yes,
won't spend much time thinking this is not
yes,
going to work or something like that. But yeah, being in a calm situation, I mean, state, and then understand and build up on this is really important.
yes. Usha talks you with your closest people. Perfect. It's really important because when you talk, you put words to it. And when you put words to it, you're naming the emotion. Oh, I feel so frustrated about that person. And that's already like awareness building up and say, oh, that person, when does that, triggers me in this way. And then I want to do something to them. But it's already a lot. And then build up on that, do a little bit more, pay a little bit more attention, because I think we're going through the day having thousands of emotions and we don't even know. We just pick up like 2 or 3 that are actually screaming in our face, but we can slowly, slowly pay attention to a little bit more. And then my question is, what kind of ripple effects do you think this is going to have around us when we're going to start noticing our partner saying, oh, you don't really look okay today. What is happening to you? Oh, thank you for noticing. There's something in the chat that I missed out on. Internalization, self-reflection. Yes, exactly. And it's self-reflection is very important because we're on a treadmill, constantly running, but we're not paying attention, right? We're having tunnel vision. But what if we slow down or maybe reflect and say, wow, I haven't been really paying attention to that person when she said to me that she lost something, or maybe her mother is in the hospital and I didn't say anything nice to her. And now, I should have said something. It's never too late to say it tomorrow, but then you didn't pay attention in the moment, right? But self-reflection afterwards still helps, right? What about doing something more? So now we're noticing the emotion. Something triggered us. We feel something in our chest. We want to do something about that. But then emotions are data. And we have to leverage data. We're living in a data world, right? Who is sitting now on a bunch of data and not actually using that for insights? So we have a bunch of data. What is the wisdom of having it if we actually do not analyze it? So first step is, okay, I'm gathering the data. Second, what is that data telling me? And for each of us is very unique and very particular to our context right now. But major emotions tell us similar things. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples, see if that resonates with you. One, let's say I want to achieve something. I want a promotion. And I'm trying once and I don't get it. And I try twice and I don't get it. And then I become frustrated. And I notice the frustration. What is the frustration telling me? Right? In a lot of situation is you're doing the same thing the same way and you have the same results and you have an obstacle and you cannot go past it. Try a different way because you've been trying the same way over and over. Shift a little bit to a degree more to the left. Try a different approach. Or I am very stressed. I have to give a presentation. Why am I stressed? What is the stress telling me? The presentation is very important to me. It's very important. It's high stakes. If I impress people, I will be promoted. This is going to reflect well on my team. Why am I stressed? Because I don't think I can do it. Because I have to jump so high, but I don't know whether I have the resources to jump as high. I see myself here, and I think the challenge is here. There is a gap. I don't think I can do it. And then the stress kicks in. And the higher the challenge and the lower I think I am, I can't do it, the higher the stress. The same with anger, the same with fear. There is the body telling us something. It can be a real threat or it can be an imaginary threat. The mind doesn't make the difference. It can be a threat to our body, to our health. It can be a threat to somebody else. It can be a threat to our ego. Doesn't really matter. The emotion is real. The information is real. I feel sad. Why do I feel sad? I lost something that matters to me. I lost something. Somebody died. Something died. Maybe a person, but maybe also a dream of mine died. And I feel sad. Why? Because that dream was important to me. So emotions have developed in time to tell us something. What really lies behind the emotions is my invitation for you to discover. So sit with the emotion and ask. And how exactly do we do that? Is just stay a little bit in stillness. Like Vinay said, pay a little bit of attention. What is the message? And they evolved together with us to keep us safe, because otherwise evolution would have, removed emotions from us. But if they are here, it's because emotions have evolved to keep us alive. So what is the positive intention? Why is the fear here? Why is fear of failure here? Why am I afraid that this project is not going to be successful? Because I want to succeed in life, because it matters to me. Because if this project succeeds, my team will have better salaries, my company will grow, it matters. Why am I afraid? So this is my invitation, and a tool too is not an easy tool to sit with the emotion and ask, what is the message? What is the positive intention? What do I need in that moment? When I walk on the streets in Barcelona at night and I feel fear, why is fear there? Because I need to feel safe. So there is something that I need from this situation. And what is the emotion here asking me to do? Maybe ask for help, walk faster, prepare more, go to school. But it's also an invitation from the emotions to do something. And then last question for you is this emotion coming alone? Or is coming in company, coming with something, another emotion together? How many of you maybe had to say goodbye to a colleague that went to a better company or a better country, and you feel sadness that they are gone and they're not part of your life anymore, but at the same time you feel happy for them? So happiness and sadness can coexist. And more than once we feel a cocktail of emotions, just one. On this step, number 2, when you're trying to understand what is happening to you, what tricks do you use and what is useful for you? Anything that you can share or you have discovered and works really, really well for you? Nobody? Well, nobody said step 2 is an easy one. It is actually hard. Okay, so step 3. We identify the emotion, we named it. What do we do with it? How do we make it work for us? And step 3 is actually probably the hardest, but also the most rewarding. Because if we take a break and we put pause between what we feel and how we react, in that moment of pausing, we can control how we respond. And then we do not use the autopilot anymore, but we are actually driving the car. We are in control and we can decide what we want to do next. So in this case, I'm trying to put it in a more visual way, but let's imagine with a real case scenario, well, not real, but a story that I'm going to take Nikki. Nikki, I hope you know mine, right? That I'm going to like play with you a little bit. Let's imagine that this morning I think about having a presentation with you. I go to my Google Drive. I know that I told Nikki that in the Google Drive, this presentation, I go to my Google Drive and my presentation is not there anymore. That's a fact. The folder is empty. Presentation, it's gone. And I'm freaking out because the presentation is in 3 hours. My first thought is, Nikki deleted my presentation because he has editor rights. She probably did that, or she stole my presentation. I don't know why, but probably somebody else did it. And then what I feel when I feel that, I feel angry. Oh, why did she do that? Why she deleted my presentation? Oh, I'm going to call Nikki and I'm going to tell her a couple of things. Oh, let me see Nikki. I'm going to meet Nikki in the elevator and I'm going to just tell her how angry I feel. And this is my autopilot, like over and over, the story that I tell myself. And then the more I think about it, the more angry I am. And Nikki is just innocent. But what if we say, wait a second, is there any other possible explanation for my presentation missing from the drive? What if I actually logged in my Google account with one of the 3 emails addresses that I have, and instead of logging in with my Culture Shift email address, I logged in with my personal email address, and of course the presentation is not there. What if I actually deleted it and I wasn't even paying attention? So now what we do is we stop the autopilot and we actually, make room for more than just one idea. There's another perspective in the room. And if I realize, oh, I just logged in with my personal email address. Let me log in with my professional. Oh, it's there. Suddenly it's like, joy. Oh my goodness. Oh, how silly I was. It's actually presentation is there. Oh, I don't have to redo the presentation. And the action is I'm actually not destroying my collaboration and my friendship with Nikki. I'm actually happy and I'm not going there and telling Nikki anything about that. So in the pause moment where I actually think, is there something more there? Could there be something else that I'm not seeing? In that
Can I
pause,
ask, sorry,
yes,
can I ask you
please.
a question? For
Yes.
example, you have uploaded your presentation and
Mhm.
Nikki has not deleted it, but
Yes.
there is a glitch in the system you're not aware, which got deleted. And then you don't have another way, right? I mean, it's your one email address, you uploaded it, you are sure, you checked it, and there was no presentation. And you don't know that it is not deleted, but as a fact, Nikki didn't delete it. Then how would you come to a solution? That because you don't have much options there.
I
And
don't
you would
have
not
much
think
option.
of the glitch. You could not think of the glitch. Yeah. In
Yes.
that, there is only one possibility that Nikki might have deleted.
Could have been,
It's
could have been. Say, I'm super angry. Like, oh my goodness, if Nikki shows up in front of Imara, oh my goodness, I'm gonna tell her so many things. But I do appreciate my friendship with Nikki. Is this the smartest thing? If I press pause and I think, is this the smartest thing to do right now? Is anger useful for me? Or can I dial it down? Can I go and approach Nikki calmly and say, Nikki, look, I cannot find my presentation. What do I do? Do you know what happened to the presentation? Nikki says, oh no, I don't know, but look, I have made a copy last night. Or let's say nobody has a copy. Is it helpful for anybody if I and Nikki ruin our relationship forever because I just lashed out at her? Or I can say, oh my goodness, I have no presentation. I can improvise because I prepared a presentation. I know what's in it. Let's say it's really bad. Then what's helpful for me to say, this thing that seems so catastrophic to me right now, will it matter in a year? Will it matter in 10 years? Is it as big as I think it is? Did anybody die here? I don't know if it happened to you in your life, but for me, for example, I have been fired once in my job and I have been laid off second time. So I lost my job without my intention twice. And in that moment, it felt like the end of the world for me. It felt like it's personal, like I'm not good enough, or maybe I don't know if I'm going to have another job again. Look how bad I am at my job. 20 years later, looking back, it made me rethink my career. And it made me who I am today. I wouldn't be here today if that boss wouldn't have fired me because I did the crappy jobs. I was in sales, recently out of university. I didn't want to be in sales, but I needed a job, right? Sometimes things are not as bad as they are. Sometimes they are bad. Sometimes, for example, I do have a really stressful, hard project. And I am stressed and I am reaching anxiety levels and I don't know how to handle that. But also it might be useful to take a step back and says, life is throwing a challenge at me. This project is going to make me better. How is this project going to make me better? It's going to force me learn something new. It's going to force me to become a better communicator. It's going to force me to manage better my emotions. It's going to force me pick up the phone and call a therapist. How is this going to make me better? Did I answer your question? Because I tend to talk a lot when I'm really
yeah, of
passionate.
course. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you
So
so much.
in reality, these are the tools for step 3, right? First, just press pause, breathe, count to 10, find a way to make that pause. And you, Vina, you just did that to say you go play with a child. Somebody will go play with a cat. Cats are amazing, right? Just press pause, breathe, slow down. And in that slowing down, try to move your body, use music, your scent, shift your attention somewhere else. If somebody gets you really angry, just say, I'm sorry, I cannot answer you right now, and leave the room. Go take a walk around the building, come back 10 minutes later. Put physical distance. Pay a really close attention to this flower that you have in front of you, as long as you get out of your own head, because this is where the loop starts to happen, right? And then change your perspective. Would that matter in a year? If I am having a conflict with somebody in front of me, the third person in the room, what would they think about it? How would they see it? Try to shift the perspective. Try to understand what is the good in it. What is life teaching me? And this is not easy, because if that was easy, we wouldn't have a webinar on emotional intelligence. Everybody would just master it. And sometimes it's better to use a friend, or better use a coach. And if the emotion is really intense, like depression or anxiety, better work with a therapist. And sometimes remembering why you're doing what you're doing also helps. Like, why am I in this leadership position? Why do I have to go through such stressful times? Because it matters to me that I'm a leader. It matters to me this company succeed, or my team needs to succeed. I care. I have a purpose. I have a calling. I have a goal. Why do I need this job? Because I really want to pay for that house. I really want to go on vacation. And that is somehow dialing down certain emotions and allowing you to choose another one. Do you know any other tricks that can help in these situations besides the one that I mentioned? Are you using something else that does the trick for you? Or have you tried something that completely didn't work? Feel free to share. We're reaching the end of our presentation.
Maybe take a break.
Take a break. Like in sports, timeout. Also in teams, you have like the situation in the conference room suddenly is getting like a little bit heated up, and it's like, whoa, I don't know how to control that. And you say, everybody, take 5, let's have coffee. Very useful, extremely useful. And then in that break of 5 minutes, emotions probably dial down. Okay, Usha is typing something in the chat. Yes, music actually helps. I'm actually using music. Playing a sport helps. Everything that involves moving your body actually is really helpful, because you release a lot of energy. For anger, sometimes it might sound silly, but just take a piece of paper and like doing that, because anger comes with a lot of energy that needs to be released, right? Otherwise, it just sits there bubbling. So do whatever. Sometimes just scream, go into the bathroom and scream, or squeeze a pillow. Anything. Going for a walk, very useful. Yes.
Yeah, my point is like I share something to my mentor or guru to discuss on those things at that point of emotion to reduce to control myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is very useful. As long as you're not trying to keep all these things bottled in and just pretend that like they're not there, because the more you ignore them, the more they will come back and they will scream louder, right? Like the blinking message on the card is like at the beginning, the blinking is there, but then it might blink a little bit faster. So the emotions are like that. Just let them go somehow, channel them somewhere else, because you get the information and then just let them go. Talk to somebody, play with a child, play with a pet, dance, smell a candle, go for a walk. Actually, it's really good to clear your mind. Change a little bit how you look at the problem by saying, how would my mentor solve it? How would the person that I most admire in the world look at it? As long as you press pause, so you can get control over your thinking and your body, it's good. It's going to work. And as long as you do this constantly, then this muscle is going to be a little bit like bigger and bigger, and it's going to kick in faster. You're not going to need 2 hours to calm down. Slowly, you might need 1 hour, 10 minutes, 5 minutes to calm down. And in time, it's going to be better managed. I'm very mindful of the time. I apologize. Today, we talked about us, how we improve ourselves, right? How we perceive, how we understand, and how we manage our emotions. But emotional intelligence has a component that is social. And we do not have time today. That is an entirely big universe for another conversation. But then how do we use our power over emotions to actually behave in a society or in a team? How do we perceive the emotion in the person in front of me? How do I understand what is happening to them? But not necessarily at the cognitive logical level. How do I feel what they're feeling? And then how do I manage or I regulate my emotion, but also maybe help them regulate their emotion? That is empathy. And that is the second part of emotional intelligence, because there is a part of your duty as leaders to be able to read a room, to manage a room, and to work with emotions to motivate people, to take the best out of them, and to create environments that are positive to innovation, right? So this is something for another time, but if you work on yourself first, that is already a huge, huge, huge step, huge step. And this is where I thank you.